All right, if you're building any kind of community, you've definitely run into these three terms: code of conduct, community guidelines, and terms of service. They all kind of sound the same, right? They overlap, and honestly, they can be a huge headache for leaders. So today, we're going to untangle this mess once and for all. Okay, let's paint a picture. Things are getting heated in your online group. Or maybe someone drops a really inappropriate joke at a volunteer event. You know you have to do something, right? But which policy do you actually turn to? This is so much more than just paperwork. It's about having the right tool ready to go when the health of your community is literally on the line.
And that is exactly what we're here to do. You see, while all three of these documents might mention things like harassment or spam, their whole purpose, who they're for, and their legal muscle are completely different. I promise, by the time we're done here, you're going to know exactly which is which. And even more important, you'll know which ones your organization actually needs.
All right, let's dive in. First up, the Code of Conduct. The way I like to think about this one is simple. It's the rule book for your inner circle. We're talking about the folks who have a formal, dedicated relationship with your organization.
So the most important thing to get here is the scope. This isn't for just anyone who stumbles across your website or social media. No, a code of conduct is laser-focused. It's for your staff, your board members, your core volunteers. It's what sets the standard for how people representing your nonprofit are expected to act, professionally and ethically. Okay, this slide really breaks down the DNA of a code of conduct. The number one purpose: safety. We're talking about creating both psychological and physical safety, preventing stuff like harassment or discrimination. The tone is meant to be protective. It's like a shield for your people and your culture. And here's a super important distinction. This is not a legal contract. But, and this is a big but, it is what you'll use as the basis for internal action, like, say, having to let a volunteer go. And here's a perfect example of what that protective tone actually sounds like. See how direct it is? It draws a clear line in the sand, we don't tolerate harassment, and it tells people exactly what to do if that line gets crossed. It's not wishy-washy at all. It's a clear, enforceable statement of what your organization stands for. Okay, so if the code of conduct is for your inner circle, what about everyone else? Well, that's where our next document comes in: community guidelines. I love this analogy. Think of these as the house rules for any shared space you manage, whether that's an online forum or an in-person event. Right away, you can see this one casts a much wider net. Community guidelines apply to everybody who shows up in your spaces. We're talking program participants, people at your events, followers in your Facebook group, you name it. The focus here isn't on formal job stuff. It's all about creating a healthy, positive vibe for everyone. See the shift? The purpose isn't just about individual safety anymore, it's about the health of the whole community culture. And the tone changes too. It's more inviting, kind of like a welcome to our home sign that also says, and here's how we treat each other here. And just like the code of conduct, it's not a legal contract, but it absolutely gives you the authority you need to moderate, to remove a spammy post or, block a user who's causing trouble. This is a great example of that tone. It kicks off with a welcome, sets that positive vibe about being respectful, and then it's super clear about what's not okay, like spam. The goal isn't really discipline. It's more about being a good host and making sure the conversation stays on track. All right, now for the third and final document. This one is the legal heavyweight of the group, the terms of service. And, there's no cute analogy for this one. It's exactly what it sounds like: the formal, official legal contract. This is the one you need when you're providing some kind of service, especially a digital one. So think about a website where people can create an account, or a membership portal, or an app you've built. The moment someone uses that service, boom, they're entering into a legally binding agreement with you. And this slide just lays out how different this beast is. Its whole purpose: legal protection for you. The tone? Yeah, it's going to sound formal and stuffy, but that's because it is a legal contract. And breaking the terms of service isn't just about getting your account suspended. It could mean actual legal trouble. This is absolutely call your lawyer territory. And here's a classic bit of legalese you'd find in a terms of service. It's all about handling those really tricky legal questions, like who actually owns the stuff people post on your site. This kind of clause is designed to protect your organization and make sure you have the right to use that content for your mission, all while being clear about ownership. It is 100% about managing legal risk. Okay, deep breath. We've gone through each one individually. Now, let's put them all side by side. This is the part where it's all going to click, I promise. I love this table. It makes it so clear. Just look at that primary purpose row. You've got safety, culture, and legal contract. That right there is the core difference. Or check out enforcement. It goes from internal action to simple moderation all the way to potential legal action. The who, the why, and the how are just totally different for each one, even if they're all saying no hate speech.
Okay, so that brings us to the most important question of all. What does your organization actually need? It's really easy to think, oh my gosh, I need all three. But that's not always true. So let's make this super simple and walk through a quick checklist.
Here it is. This is your game plan. If you have staff, a board, or volunteers, you need a code of conduct. It's not negotiable, it's the foundation. Now, if you also run an online community, a forum, anything like that, you're going to want community guidelines. And finally, if your website lets people create accounts or you're collecting user data, you absolutely positively need a lawyer to help you with terms of service. It really is that straightforward.
But listen, just having these documents isn't the finish line. Not even close. The real work, the hard part, is putting them into practice. And there are a few really common traps that, honestly, even the best organizations can fall into.
Let's call them the 3 big mistakes to avoid. Number 1, just copying and pasting a template. If you do that, it's not going to feel real and nobody's going to take it seriously. Number 2, writing this amazing document and then burying it on some forgotten page on your website. Out of sight, out of mind. And number 3, this one might be the worst of all. Inconsistent enforcement. Applying the rules to some people but not others. You have to remember, a policy is only as good as your willingness to back it up every single time. So here's the big idea I really want you to walk away with. These documents, they are not just bureaucratic hoops to jump through. They are living, breathing statements about your culture. They send a powerful signal about what you value, what you believe in, and, just as important, what you simply will not tolerate.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. Don't think of this as just writing rules. Think of it as defining who you are as a community. So I'll ask you this. When you look at your own organization's documents, or maybe the empty space where they should be, what story do they tell? What do they say about you?